Plenty of frustrations from the other night, I know. We won't necessarily go too much into that. The couple of suspensions, to not have Doug Tharm and Liam Coyle, does that show how important those two players have become to you, and how much of an opportunity does that present to someone else?
Well, it presents a massive opportunity for somebody else. They have been important players, but you can't just rely on 11. If you rely on 11, you're going to struggle. And chatting to the Bolton manager yesterday, and I was saying that he's going to strengthen in January, and he thinks he needs to. And the only little bit of advice I said to give him is that you've always got to be looking to be strengthening, because if you don't, you end up going backwards. And you've got to be mindful of the fact that you just don't sign players for the sake of signing. I mean, that's something we've tried to get away from, but when you need bodies in the building, sometimes you get a little bit desperate. What you can legislate for in this game, you're going to get suspensions. When you're playing well and you're winning games, you get less bookings because you're more than the other teams have. You get less sending offs. It all goes, hand in hand. You can't legislate for injuries, and you can't legislate for specific areas getting decimated. So if you look at us, start of the season, centre halves, as the season started, centre forwards. So you just do your best, and whoever gets the shirt on Saturday, it's a massive, massive game, and we've got to trust them, and I do trust them.
I think you're in the mid-20s for players that have played in the Football League this season and made an appearance. Is that an ideal situation? Is that a good thing, or is it the injuries that have meant that you've had to do that?
Well, anyone who's followed Accrington for a long time will know that I'm not an advocate of rotation. I like to get settled teams, and sometimes you're forced into it. A lot of the time this season we have been forced into it, but you've got to keep your focus, and first thing you've got to do is look at yourself. So I've got to look at myself first, and the first thing I've got to focus on is channeling all my energy into the football side of my teams. And I'm getting too sidetracked with officials because of, we have had some horrendous decisions this season, and we have the lion's share of 50-50s are going against us at the moment. But that's not in my control, and I've got to stop reacting to that. And I've let myself down this season because I've reacted too much to it. I've let it get under my skin. And it's distracting from what I know I can deliver for the rest of the team. So that's something I've got to change, and I will change. That means that, the other coaching staff can speak to the fourth official, can ask questions. But I've got to detach myself from that, because all I'm doing is I'm getting het up, I'm getting angry. And when you're angry, you're more likely to, it damages your judgment, it damages your thinking process. And I've got to get back to what I'm good at. And I know I went through a big spell when I come back here where I mellowed a lot. I'm getting back to my early times as a manager, and I don't want that. I don't like it. I don't want to turn into that person again. And I see other managers who rant and rave for 90 minutes. I don't want to be that manager. So that's going to be my main focus, as well as trying to guide the team out of these 4 defeats. We've conceded 12 goals, three apiece. But if you look at the performances haven't been that bad. Not many teams will go to Peterborough and have 18 shots, 6 on target, take the lead. Hit the woodwork. So we're not a million miles away. We have to. We've been through spells plenty of times in mine and Jimmy's, or Jimmy and I, should I say, speaking correct English, in our tenure, and we've been through spells where we've defended really well for big periods, but we just go to sleep, and that's creeping in. That we're getting punished every time we make a mistake, despite defending really well for big parts of the game. We've got to take that right too. Now you got to, you can't. If you're keeping a clean sheet, it's got to be clean. If keeping a carpet, you can't just have a couple of spots here and there. It's got to be clean, and we've got to do that for the 98, 99 minutes, whatever we're playing. And that goes down to what we do in the coaching pitch, or the training pitch, how we coach them. And we've got to get distinct roles for people. And that might mean, us working for longer periods on trying to get ourselves right shape-wise, but if that has to be done, that has to be done.
You mentioned trying to make a conscious change to your sort of demeanour on the touchline, as well as having an impact maybe on doing your job in the way that you want to do it, that you mentioned there. Does it have an impact on you? Does it increase the stress levels? Does that have an effect on your life generally, if you let it get to you?
Of course it does. And I've made a conscious effort over the years, and I have improved. That doesn't mean that you stop. And I've got to be better at it, and there is a conscious effort going on my part. And that started with me detaching myself from it on Tuesday. People can say, "Oh, you're running away." I wasn't running away. I was getting myself into a situation that I was going to be out of control, and I don't want to be like that. So take a break, take a breath, and then come back better, and I will be better for it.
Does it set an example to the players as well?
I think it does. And I think the players have got to realise that from the top, they need clear guidance, they need calm leadership, and that's what they're going to get.
Big game coming up, Fleetwood away. They're all big games, aren't they? But a team from Lancashire, a team in a similar area to the table to yourselves. You talked about the supporters at Peterborough the other night. I'm sure there'll be bigger numbers go to Fleetwood at the weekend. Does this all add to making this an important occasion, particularly given the run that you're on?
100% it does. They've been absolutely terrific this season. That was... I'm trying to find words to describe it. It was quite emotional, really, the way how much that they've come that far, spent that much money to show how much the club and the team means to them. And we've got to show that back. We've got to give them that back. We've got to give them some joy. Hopefully that'll be Saturday. I think they appreciate the fact that the lads give their all. So I think they appreciate that. But that's not enough. They need us wins. They need the joy of winning, the feeling. I know as a football fan myself, and I know how dejected I've been. Travelling back from Paris last year. So we need to deliver that, and I know that the players are desperate for it. And all I'll say to them is carry on doing what you're doing as fans, because it is really, really appreciated and needed for us at this time.
You probably don't need it, but is it a reminder? Is it a reminder of what it means to people?
Yeah, it is. It is a reminder, and sometimes some of the players need that. Myself and Jimmy and John Julian don't. We've been there from the onset. But now and again, you need a lift, and we've got to carry on playing good football and turn that good football into results. If we keep playing good football, the results will change.
What have you made of the change in Fleetwood Town since Scott Brown took over? They conceded a lot of goals and scored quite a lot last season. Now they don't concede many and don't score many.
Different managers have their own take on a game of football. It's all about your best way of getting results. I've watched them play a couple of times this season, and they're a decent outfit, and it makes for a good occasion on Saturday, because I think both teams feel as though they need to win the game, even at this early stage. So it should be a good encounter.
You're vastly experienced in this game, particularly as a manager, of course. I certainly know you're the oldest manager in the Football League at the moment. You're probably one of the most experienced.
I didn't know I was the oldest, yeah.
For Scott Brown, a guy with a playing pedigree like that in Scotland with Celtic, to be in his first management job, how much will he be learning from every training session, let alone every game? He
will be learning, and we'll be picking nuggets off from other people, and the staff around him will help him as well. And the one thing about him is he's keen. He loves football. I had a chat with him at the last time our 23s played him, and that enthusiasm shines through. And I love that in people involved in football. He's not blasé about it. He knows it's a tough job, and he's embracing it, and I think it's great to see that.
How much will they be learning about League One?
Yeah, I mean, don't forget he's gone in at a good standard. You know, I wish my first job was in League One. And he will be learning all the while, and it's a different aspect. And you know, players probably make more mistakes at this level. The game's played a little bit quicker, and there's different challenges. And people who are involved in football and love football love the task of that. And so I'm sure he's the same.
How important is the first goal, particularly in this fixture? Because, as I said, they don't score a lot, don't concede a lot. You've conceded too many recently.
Don't talk to me about the first goal. We scored the first goal last 2 games and got beat. I think historically the first goal is important, but we've shown in the last 2 weeks that it's not. We're like the bad dog walker. We can't keep hold of a lead.
Is that a psychological thing then?
No, I don't think so. I think our lads would be desperate to take the lead. And people can get superstitious about anything. That's much sooner go in front and behind, that's for sure.
If you do get it, does it give you an opportunity to prove the point, I guess?
I think so, and I think our players will have learned from the experiences that they've been through the last 2 games. And hopefully we'll get it right. Third time lucky.
You've got the couple of lads suspended. Is there anything else new to report on the personnel front? That centre-forward decision, is that getting more difficult with Cisse and Delfonso possibly getting closer?
They're getting closer, yeah. You know, our attacking play was very good on Tuesday, as you saw with the amount of shots we had. I mean, we got into good areas, played some good football. We've just got to take that a step further.